And here it is, the brand new Toyota Hilux SR5 2024 model with V-Active technology. What is it? How does it work? Is it just a fancy hybrid system, or is it something different entirely? Keep watching, because we're going to go through how it all works, whether it's a good four-wheel drive or not, and whether or not you should own one. This video is all about the new V-Active technology, which now comes standard on all your SR5 and Rogue models, and is an optional extra on your SR models too. Now this system is comprises of, it used to be called a 48 volt system or a 48 volt hybrid. However, this is not a hybrid car. It cannot run solely on electricity, and it's more of a addition to the existing turbo diesel engine, the 2.8. Rather than replacing it with a brand new engine that can obviously be a hybrid, be electric or petrol. So what does that actually mean? So the V-Active, the main component of the V-Active technology is that the alternator on the engine is replaced with a motor generator. So it can either generate power through creating resistance in the pulley and using that to create energy to spin a turbine, or it can be used to actually drive the drive belt in the engine. So it has the ability to either engage more power or reduce it to create drag, and then use that to generate electricity, which is pretty cool. So to do that, it uses 3 pulleys. So it uses your main alternator pulley, and then there's 2 tensioner pulleys as well, which are on spring-loaded arms. And what that does is it gives the motor generator an incredible grip on that drive belt, and allows it to obviously either add drive or create resistance, depending on what the engine wants to do. So that drive belt there runs at 48 volts to give it that bit of extra oomph. That then runs back through the car underneath the passenger seat. So in there you've got a DC-DC converter. That's all run by a 48 volt battery underneath the rear seat. So that's under the rear seat on the passenger side. That then comes through a DC-DC converter, which sits underneath the passenger seat in the front, and then wires up to that motor generator. Pretty cool little system. It's all out of the way. Weight-wise, you're talking maybe an increase of about 20 kilos to the car once you take off the alternator and all the other bracketry and stuff. So it's a pretty big gain for not a lot of loss. That really improves, number one, your fuel efficiency, because you're using an electric motor to help reduce the load on the engine. And the byproduct of that is also you increase the engine's performance. Now, when I say increases engine performance, what I mean is it increases the reactiveness of the engine at low load. Also on stop-start acceleration, it really improves things there. So that increase in power, what I actually mean by that is it has the motor generator has an output of about 65 Newton meters, which is pretty beefy. And what that does is that when you want the car to get up and go, when you're trying to accelerate, when you're taking off from a start, that electric motor will kick in. It only does it under low load, so if you're just cruising around, it will take a lot of the load off the engine. It doesn't work at high speeds, so you're not going to get an extra oomph at high speeds, but it really helps for that low speed sort of stuff, and that's where your diesels are usually labouring. So the way it does this is the motor inside that motor generator grips onto that drive belt, and it will actually spin it faster. So it will spin it faster and faster until it's actually exceeding what the engine is putting out, and essentially the engine can then work and spin without having the additional load of all your ancillaries from that drive belt. Also, because it's just spinning everything a little bit faster, there's less load on the engine, which means it doesn't have to burn as much fuel or work as hard to achieve the same result. And what that means is when you do want to put your foot down, it sort of pulls its way up into the power band a little bit quicker, which is pretty cool. And you really have to get in and drive it to understand exactly what it is. But essentially it's an assistance to the engine. It's not a separate motor, like to the drive wheels or the gearbox, whatever it may be. It assists the engine with doing what it does, and it does it in a really good fashion too. With this model of Hilux, with the V-Active technology, they've actually incorporated a stop-start feature. So when you come to a stop, the engine will turn off until it then picks up that you need to get going again, and then the engine will turn back on. previous cars I've driven with this technology, mainly older Mazdas, not too many new cars, but mostly older Mazdas, you really feel that kick and that delay when the car wants to get going again, which for the fuel saving, you think, oh, you know, that's a little inconvenience I can deal with. But this car is seamless. It's amazing. And a lot of that is to do that when you start the car from cold, you're using the starter motor, which is fine because you can sit there, you're used to a little bit of a rattle when you start up, that's all well and good. But when you're in traffic and you pull up to a set of lights and you stop and then you want to get going again, that motor will actually spin that drive belt and start the motor with the drive belt rather than the alternator. And what that does is it creates like a really seamless starting procedure, I suppose you want to call it, between being stopped and stationary and the engine turned off, or up and going. It's fantastic. There are a number of conditions where this stop-start feature won't work, and it's actually with pretty good cause. So for whatever reason, the engine needs to be running while you're stopped at a set of lights. For example, if you've got the aircon on and you've set the desired temperature to 20, but it's picking up that it's still 24 degrees inside the cabin, so the aircon still needs to run, the engine will still run. That's fine. Now, the third function of the V-Active system, where you have that motor generator, is it is also a generator. So what it can do is it can actually remove all the power it's sending to that motor, which will then create drag on that drive belt. And that drag then spins that motor again, and it will actually generate electricity. So that's how it charges the 48-volt battery in the back. Whenever you're slowing down, you take your foot off the accelerator, it'll start charging. So it'll actually give you that little bit of engine braking, which is actually a really cool feature in a automatic. It's one of the things where, especially if you're trying to slow down with an auto in a higher gear, it will just tend to roll away from you. But with this having that regenerative braking, it does slow the engine down that little bit more, which is fantastic. So that charge is used to charge the 48-volt battery in the back, and you have a display on the dash here that actually shows you how full that battery is. So all in all, it's pretty intuitive. It works really well, and I'm pretty happy with how it drives. It's fantastic. Now, I think a good question to talk about, especially with this car, is why do we have this new technology? What's the purpose of it? And why have they brought it out on the Hilux? And why isn't it a proper hybrid? That's more than one question, I realise. But the 1GD engine has been out for nearly 10 years now. And in that time, there have been stricter and stricter emissions regulations from different government bodies, meaning that the emissions from every vehicle have to be reduced, or they pay taxes, or whatever it may be. So essentially, Toyota's looking for a way to reduce the emissions of different engines and different cars, but they also have to realise what their customers want. And the Hilux is the massive seller. I mean, it's been going back and forth between the Hilux and the Ranger for the best-selling car in Australia. So you want a dual cab ute. You want a utility, you want something that's got all the nice comforts, and you want it to have towing capacity, power, weight capacity, that sort of stuff, to be able, and off-road ability as well, so that you have a vehicle that can do all of that. And the Hilux does do all that. It's fantastic. If you threw a hybrid in it, number one, most hybrid models are a hybrid of a petrol and an electric motor. Because it's a full electric system, in terms of off-road ability and durability and longevity and all those other things that four-wheel drivers tend to care about, you're going to throw up a huge amount of question marks. And I imagine Toyota's marketing and research team probably looked into it and went, well, we're actually probably going to lose a huge chunk of customers as soon as we say the Hilux is only available in a petrol-electric hybrid. I know that a lot of tradies would look at it and go, oh, I'm not touching a hybrid in the way that they do. So they needed to come up with a system that not only kept the diesel engine, kept the feel of it, amplified the best things about it, but still gave a fuel economy improvement and allowed them to also incorporate a hybrid technology, not the hybrid technology, of adding a electric system to help bolster the diesel engine's performance. Now, I know a lot of people might say, oh, well, the hybrid, you still get plenty of performance out of that sort of engine, but it's the sort of hard work of a diesel engine, which a lot of contractors, tradies, people out from rural areas that need a diesel and need it to do some work. There's a lot of qualities about diesel engine you can't replicate with an electric engine. And two of those things are payload and towing capacity. So electric motors work quite well for their intended use, but as soon as you start to add extra load to it, they do tend to chew through power and electricity a lot faster than a diesel would in terms of scale. So to have the right amount of electricity needed to run a car versus towing a car, you're going to be using 2-3 times the amount to tow with it, because you're adding so much extra load onto those electric motors, and as such the amount of range that you're going to get from your batteries is going to be significantly less. Yeah, it all works well and good when there's no load on the car, but as soon as you put half a ton or a ton of weight on the back of the car, plus you're towing 3.5 ton of caravan or trailer or whatever it may be, your range and the battery usage is going to be much, much greater, and as such the benefit of a hybrid is just not there. So for a work vehicle, it doesn't make a huge amount of sense to have a hybrid, and a lot of prospective Hilux owners would not be looking towards a Hilux because it's going to cut into those sorts of things where you're having to charge it for more often. You're going to need to have it plugged in for a certain amount of time, and yeah, it's just like it's not worth it from a business point of view. So the Hilux comes with 3 different driving modes that you can select on the fly while you're driving. You've got normal mode, you've got eco mode, and then you've got sport mode as well. And what those do is they change how that motor generator operates to help the engine. So in eco mode, it's going to be putting a lot more charge in. It's going to be using that motor to spin that drive belt and reduce the load on the engine, therefore less fuel is going to be used. You've got normal mode, which will sort of balance everything, and then you've got sport mode, which is actually going to use the motor to drive the drive belt faster, to give you more performance, which is fantastic. And I'm just playing with them now. In the sport mode, it holds that gear much longer, especially when you're slowing down, when you're decelerating. It'll hold that gear. You can see it kick into charge mode, and you get a whole heap of that engine braking back. And this is actually charging up the 48 volt battery very, very fast. So new Hilux owners, little tip for you: if you want to charge the battery very quick, put it in sport mode, speed up, and then just take your foot off the accelerator. You'll feel it charge and kick in, and it charges the battery very, very fast. Pretty happy with that. That's awesome. I tell you what, one thing I do have to agree with Braden from 4x4 Camping Adventures is this, because it's a modern car, just like his Ranger, it just dings from everything. It has little warnings and sensors and everything else going on, and sometimes it'll tell you what it's dinging about, and a lot of the times it doesn't. So yeah, I'll just be driving along and all of a sudden it's going ding ding ding, like what? I don't know, what have I done? So as much as I can yammer on about how this car drives on the road, I'm sure you and everyone else who's clicked on this video want to know the same thing. How does it feel off-road? Well, we're not quite on-road Crusader, are we? I'm going to head for the hills, find some bush, and let's go give this Hilux a bit of a workout, eh? See you. Just out having a lovely drive in this national park. We're on a little fire trail, nothing too crazy. You get through here with a very mild, soft rotor. But it's a perfect place for me to show you the new addition to the Hilux, which is the Multi-Terrain Select. So what that is it's basically a fancy traction control system for low range, and it uses the ABS system to selectively brake each corner depending on what wheels are spinning and what ones are on the ground. The best way for me to describe it is to really show you what it does. Your normal on-road traction control systems try to allow for no slip at all, or a little bit, whereas off-road you do want a little bit to a lot of slip for some different situations. So the way to turn it on it is, in this car it does only work in low range, so obviously put the car in low range, away you go. There's a button down the bottom here near where you have your mode select for your V-Power system. You'll then hit your little MTS button down the bottom here, Multi-Terrain Select. And that will then bring up your menu and a little icon and to say that the system is operational. You can then choose using the dial whether you want it to be on rock or mud or sand, or there's also an automatic mode. So auto is going to basically help you out in the majority of situations, but you can use the other ones. They'll allow more or less slip than the other ones. So yeah, they're really good just to have a bit of a play around and see what that works with. I'm just coming up to a bit of a washout here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the system off and we're going to just try and drive it. I can already tell that I'm going to lift my two opposing wheels and we'll just see what happens. Let's just see what happens when you just let it go as it should. There we go. I've lost traction. The two opposing corners are just spinning as they should because all the power is taking the path of least resistance, which is those back corners. I am going through nice and slow because it's not my car and I want to take care of the CVs. You can obviously just bump it over these sorts of sections, but we go nice and steady for these sorts of things. And it also allows me to show you the system really well. So what I'll do now is I'll go back out of that rut, and I'm just going to put the multi-terrain select on, and I'm going to set it for, I think I'll just leave it in auto for this one here. And let's just see how this does now. So same line, same speed. There we go. So I'm now at the point where I was stuck before. You can hear the traction control does kick in. That's the ABS system grabbing and ungrabbing some of the wheels. So I just use that and I add a little bit of accelerator. And what it does is it figures out which wheels are in the air. There we go. And it brakes them and it sends power to the other side. So we're moving forward and I've got I've got less than 1,000 revs on that and we're through. It's just so simple. It just works. I've got the same setup on the 200 series. And it's fantastic. I really, really enjoy using it off-road. It's probably not the greatest in sand, especially soft sand like we get on the beaches here in WA, because you do want to be able to have the power there and be able to spin the wheels if you need to, whereas the traction control seems to jump in and squash that pretty easily. But all the other modes, especially on rock and mud and all that sort of stuff, is fantastic. So yeah, now look, the new Hilux having that multi-terrain select model, I think it's fantastic. It's really, really good.
In the sand, the Hilux was an absolute weapon. The combination of lightweight and the immediate torque response from the V-Active technology meant it just floated over the sand. There was always plenty of power to push me through, and to be honest, I struggled to even get this thing moderately bogged. It was pretty fantastic. Over the bumpy stuff, yeah, it was a bit uncomfortable, but I think that's mainly due to leaf springs and having no weight over the rear. In the sand, it definitely makes sense to turn the traction control completely off and not use the multi-terrain select, because it just bogs down on the throttle response. But if you have that all off, I think the Hilux honestly performed its absolute best here in the sand. I couldn't knock it. It just did everything as good as I could really expect it to. If you plan to buy one of these Hiluxes, I highly recommend taking it in the sand because you will not be disappointed and you'll probably come out of it pleasantly surprised. Absolute weapon. Really, really enjoyed it.
So there you have it. That's the new Hilux. We've got it dirty, we've worked it hard, and we found out where it works really well and where it doesn't. And to be honest, there's not many places it doesn't work really well. It's a really good all-rounder. The V-Active technology, I think, really enhances a lot of the engine's best features. And because it's a lightweight vehicle and so versatile, I think it's going to sell in bucket loads from Toyota. The questions that still linger on my mind are more things like, how's it going to go in terms of longevity and repairs down the track? Being a newer model, the 1GD motor has been out now for about 10 years or so, but this is the first time that they've had that V-Active technology with that motor generator and the battery in the back. So it may work great for the first 5 years or something, but when you get to that 5 to 10 years and 10 years onwards, I mean, things have wear and tear, and especially a motor and a generator like that is probably going to be replaced at some stage. As soon as that motor generator stops working at its peak performance, what are the symptoms going to be? Is it going to throw the car into limp mode with 1% damage, or is it just going to run the thing into the ground? We don't know, and we're not going to know until people start using these for a long, long time and letting us know. But right now it's too soon to really make that call. Being that it is a Toyota item and that it has taken so long for them to come out with something, I do expect it to be pretty robust. It's good to know that they've incorporated the height of where everything sits and thought about, well, this is still an off-road vehicle. We still need a decent wading depth for going through water crossings and stuff. So I'm pretty sure it's going to go the distance, but it's just one of those questions that's going to be sitting on all our minds thinking about this car is how long is it going to last? Would I recommend this Hilux to you? Well, if you're looking for a Hilux, if you're looking for a dual cab ute, then yes, I would definitely recommend this. From driving this V-Active technology only enhances what's already there. It does a fantastic job of not reinventing the wheel, but making the wheel bigger, if that's an analogy. But no, it's fantastic, and yeah, I would recommend this if you're looking for a car. The V-Active does come standard on the SR5 and Rogue models. It is an option to get on the SR models, which is the lower spec, and then on your workmate models, they don't offer it. So, you know, spend the money and get it. It's definitely worth it. Massive thank you to Bunbury Toyota for lending me the car. It's really fantastic. It's always great to build great relationships with other professionals and other car enthusiasts who do want to see these things tested and, you know, get some opinions of them. And I'm more than happy to do it. So if there's any Toyotas that you're after a good review on it, let me know. Drop a comment down below and I'll hit them up and see if I can score another car off them. As always, thank you very much for watching and we'll catch you next time on Off-Road Crusader. Cheers.